Action!
Hello everyone and welcome to our presentation of Section 3 of Chapter 21.
New educational opportunities drew more women into the progressive movement. In the late 1800s, women started going to women's colleges like Smith College in Massachusetts and Vassar College in New York. In 1870, only 20% of colleges students were women. By 1910, that doubled. Sophia Smith was the founder of Smith College. When the women would graduate, they would get jobs such as social work and teaching. It was hard for women to enter professions like medicine because it was run by men. Women were active in reform. In the mid-1800s, many of these reformers blamed social problems such as family violence and criminal behavior. They also blamed alcohol consumption. In 1874, reformers from many different backgrounds formed the Women's Christian Temperance Union. The WCTU fought for restricting sale of alcohol. The WCTU fought for The leader of the WCTU was Frances Willard. More than 1,000 saloons were forced to shut down as a result of temperance-supported efforts. In 1919, many years of temperance efforts led to the passage of the 18th Amendment. The 18th Amendment banned the production, sale, and transportation of alcoholic beverages throughout the United States.
Women fought for suffrage or the right to vote. People believed that women should stay at home instead of being politically active citizens. Political bosses worried about the anti-corruption of women, while some business leaders worried that women would support minimum wage and child labor laws. Elizabeth Cady Stanton and Susan B. Anthony founded the National American Women's Suffrage Association in 1890 to promote the cause of women's suffrage. And that same year, women won the right to vote in Wyoming, Colorado, Idaho, and Utah. In 1900, Carrie Chapman Catt became president of the NAWSA. She mobilized more than 1 million volunteers for the movement. In 1913, Alice Paul founded the National Women's Party. The NWP used parades, public demonstrations, picketing, hunger strikes, and other means to draw attention to the suffrage cause. Paul and other NWP leaders were jailed for their actions. In 1919, U.S. Congress passed the 19th Amendment, which granted American women the right to vote. It was ratified by states the following year, making it law. While women's suffrage was going on, African Americans were still fighting for their equal rights. These people have been fighting since the Civil War. Like 20 years later, they still haven't gotten their equal rights. Okay, Booker T. Washington was an important person, right? So he was a teacher. And he was telling people, okay, you have to get educated. You have to get better, like, economically with your money. You have to, learn about savings and stuff, right? And he thought that if people did this, then this would end discrimination. Okay. Ida B. Wells, another important person, she would write articles and she would say, white children are getting way better education than African American children. And she thought this was completely unfair, right? And she also drew attention to lynching, where African Americans were hung by a noose, like a rope, to a tree. And they would just leave them there so that people would walk by and see them. Has nothing to do with Ross Lynch. W.E.B. Du Bois, he went to Harvard. And he believed that African Americans should protest against these unjust conditions and demand equal rights. So with other reformers, in 1909, he founded the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. Just like Booker T. Washington, he also called for education and economic equality. And this group of people, they attacked discrimination by court. So they would go to court and they would go against the laws that were unjust. Like the grandfather clause that didn't let African Americans vote if their grandfathers didn't vote. They made that illegal. So another important organization was the National Urban League, which is made by George Edmund Hayes. So these
This organization aided African Americans to move from the South and to help them find jobs and homes. So, like the progressives, they also addressed problems like health, sanitation, and education. A few minorities, like the African Americans, have attempted and sometimes failed.
Immigrants started making groups, and an example of these groups were Chinese people. They organized neighborhood associations in the communities, but the white ignored. Later on, less Chinese stopped coming, and then Mexicans started to come more often. Mexicans also became a big part of the societies and economics of the regions. The fight for women's suffrage, the everlasting call for African American equality, and the failures of few minorities have taught us that hard work pays off.
Take a deep breath.
Is that it?
Yeah, that's it.
I need
Take a